Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Kylie and this is my first vlog, so please be kind. But I thought I would start a vlog series about our upcoming trip. And today's video is about our travel plans. Along the way, I'll share some tips and tricks that we've learned from our past trips to hopefully help educate everyone out there, because I feel like watching these type of videos really helped me when I do my trip planning. Living in Australia, I don't see many of these types of videos. I watch a lot of UK vloggers, and I feel like there is a little hole in that little market that I'd like to just fit in there and see if I can share any sort of knowledge that I have onto anyone that's willing to listen to. So a little bit of an introduction. My name is Kylie. We're from Sydney, Australia, and we love Disney. We're a family of 5. My husband Andrew, then we've got 3 kids. I've got Ryan, who's 12, Ella, who is 9, and Aiden, who is 2. He'll actually be turning 3 in our upcoming trip. So a little bit about our past Disney trips. We first started going to Disney in 2018. We went to Disney World. It was meant to be our one and done trip. However, we fell in love with the place and we booked to go again in 2019. We also had Tokyo Disneyland booked in 2020. However, obviously we weren't able to go. We were able to get a refund on that trip, and we utilised those funds and put it towards purchasing DVC via the resale market. So we did all that at home during lockdown, and if you'd like, I can do a video explaining about what DVC is, the process that we were involved in, and how long it took, and how we did it in Australia. So just before I get started talking about our plans, I just wanted to put a disclosure out there and just say that we understand that planning a trip isn't for everyone. However, I love to plan, and I find it relaxing. I enjoy doing it. I do it in my spare time. And I think it's part of the fun of planning the trip and understanding it. However, I totally get that it is not for everybody, and maybe that means that this video is not for you. But yeah, I feel like I am a very visual person, so having everything set out in a spreadsheet that I do really helps me to be able to see and plan, to ensure we're doing everything we can, and make sure we have an even distribution in the parks, and making sure that we set time aside for shopping, enjoying ourselves at the resorts, and just resting. We need to be flexible. We understand things might need to change, and that's totally fine. Flexibility comes hand in hand with having kids, especially young kids, whether it be just, vibing what they need to do, or it could be the weather, or just how we're feeling in general. And that's fine. We can move things around. It's not the be all and end all. We also feel like the trips aren't regimented. Like, I have seen some trips in the past where they break it down almost hourly. That might feel a little bit regimented. However, I don't give that, we need to move on to the next activity. If we're having fun, we'll continue to keep doing what we need to, like what we're doing. When I plan when I'm looking at planning our trips, I also put a tally system in place. So I'm making sure that I'm, visiting the parks at least evenly, or, to make sure that I'm not missing out on any of the day. So what I'll do is I'll set up an AM column and a PM column, and every time that I've listed that will go to a particular park, I'll tally that down, and that way I can get a visualization as to how many times we are actually going to be attending that park. Doing this, I've actually been able to identify that we were shortchanging ourselves on the Animal Kingdom, so I was able to rejig things around and boost up the Animal Kingdom days, because I feel like I think it was only one day that we had scheduled there, like 2 half days, so I was able to boost that up and give that a little bit more love that it deserves, and spreading it out and just visualizing that a lot more better. I'll pop up a picture of our trip plan with that actual with the planner that I have. I actually print that up and I display it onto our pram. So what I actually do is I create a pram sign. So the pram that we use, and it's our own personal pram, we bring it over with us. It's a very common pram in Disney. It's one of the ones that hire companies will supply to the guests. So in a sea of prams, when you have to park them, there are many prams that all look the same. So having something visually attached to your pram helps you identify it you'll find a lot of the time that sometimes your pram will move. The cast members you may have accidentally parked it in the wrong spot, or you know, an influx of people have moved along and it's just sitting in the middle of nowhere, so they'll actually move it. So when you get off a ride, you'll be like, where's my pram gone? You'll be able to visually see, oh, there it is, you know, with my sign. So this is the sign that I have. This was from our last trip. We've got one similar to this one, and then we've got a bluey theme one for our upcoming trip as well. I do have spares just in case it breaks or falls off, which is something that I've learned from past trips as well. I do have it like I think they're like metal press studs or something, but I've got the metal because another thing I've learned is that they tear easily. I cable tie these to the handle of the pram, and then it just visually shows that who we are, and that it's our stroller, and keep your hands off. Underneath that, if you flip that upwards, it shows our park plan for the day, for the trip, sorry. And it's an easy reference guide for anybody, you know, to visually see that. So, you know, the kids or my husband can see what we're doing, you know, for the next day, or, you know, even in the afternoon. On the sheet, which I think I've put up on the screen now, we've obviously got the dates, the park hours. In the park hours, I also include things like extended evening hours, or if the park is closing early for like a Halloween party. I've got our park plan, so as I've got it split up as the AM and the PM, the hotel that we're staying at, and then any sort of breakfast, lunch or dinner reservations, any sort of special events that I just need to be mindful of, so you know, Halloween parties, extended evening hours, and then any sort of notes that I just want to be making sure that we're paying attention to. So you know, there's a particular day that there's an Eat to the Beat concert that we want to see, or these are the days that we want to make sure that we see Happily Ever After. There's a rocket launch on a particular day. You know, my husband's going to an NFL match, so just visually having it all laid out so we can see what's happening on what day, so we can have it as an easy reference guide. So first things first, when we book, when we're looking at booking our trip, the first thing that we lock in is our flights. Flying internationally, prices can change drastically from one day to the next. So having the flights locked in means that I can then look at accommodation afterwards. So I'd rather be dictated for my accommodation rather than my flights, because being dictated with your flights could mean you could be spending potentially, you know, a couple of $1,000 more because you haven't scheduled them first. So the first thing I do is book my flights, and now that we stay on DVC points, that does change things a little bit, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So once the flights are locked in, I start to plan what we do and where, and what I do then is I start building my spreadsheet. So I'll have all these spreadsheets in all different tabs, and I'll just copy and paste and create a new one, and I'll start looking in days of what we want to do. Now this is sometimes done, you know, 11, 10, 9 months in advance. Park hours and everything like that aren't released until much later. So I'll utilize previous years. So I'll just Google, you know, the park hours or the special events from previous years, and I'll just pencil them in. So that gives me an indication as to the park hours, extended evening hours, and any sort of party dates. Now, when I did that this year, looking at last year's dates, you know, I was mindful of the leap year this year, but I was able to correctly guess every single Halloween party. I was able to pinpoint when the extended evening hours were going to be, and I was also able to predict most of the park hours. However, Animal Kingdom has lost an hour from last year. However, this may change later on, and that's something that I'll discuss a little bit later when I talk about dining reservations. But by doing this, it means that I can plan a lot earlier and have a good idea as to where we're going to be and when. So when it comes to booking our dining reservations, we have a clear picture. So the actual park hours aren't released until about 70 days in advance. So what I'll do is I'll come in and I'll start, you know, locking those dates in, you know, overriding what I've had there, and then between the 70 and the 60-day mark, I just confirm everything is in place, ready for our dining reservations, because we do have a map out of where we want to be and what we want to be, you know, what sort of dining we're booking at. So I'll take lots of things in consideration when I'm looking at dining reservations. When you're staying on site, you have access to booking at the 60-day mark plus 10 days. So, you know, all those hard to get reservations, I'll be booking them towards the end of my trip, because least people have access to those days, because they may only come to their reservation may only be for a couple of days, whereas I've got the 10 days, so I'll book as far as I can. We are doing split stays this trip, so that means I'll have 3 different booking windows. So on our longest stay, which is our middle stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge, that's when I booked in our hard to get reservation, and for us for this trip it was our Space 220 reservation. That was our hard one to get, so I did get it, but I got it on our last day of our second hotel stay. Once we've locking in once we've locked in the dates, we then look at transfers. So transferring internally, so at home, going to the airport. So family of 5, and then luggage on top of that, and a stroller. It doesn't all fit in our car, and then obviously paying for airport parking. We just decide to use a transfer service. So we've booked that in, and they will pick us up the morning of. I think they'll be here at probably about 5 a.m. and they'll drop us off at the airport, and then they'll pick us up when we land. So as soon as we land, I'll switch my phone on and I'll let them know we're here, and they'll be around close by, and they've given us instructions to follow to meet them at a parking lot, and they'll take us home, which is hassle-free and worry-free. The next thing we do is look at the tickets, and we use a company called Attraction Tickets. It's a UK website. They do have a site set up for Australian in Australian dollars. However, the tickets that we use, which is the 14-day pass, isn't available on the Australian website. So I just send them an email and let them know that these are what I want to use, this is what I want to purchase, and they send that through as a quote all online, and I'll go in and pay for it that way. Doing it this way, I do have to pay in pounds, but I do have a travel card, so I just convert that money over into pounds and pay it that way. What I've actually got, I've got 2 different types of tickets. So we've got the Disney World tickets, so that's a 14-day pass for the price of 7. That includes a photo pass. It includes a magic band for each of us that we have to pick up from Planet Hollywood in Disney Springs. And it also includes lots of little things that, you know, we mostly won't take much advantage of, but there is a golf, like a little putt-putt golf that we'd like to try and get to this trip. We've also booked, and this is a surprise to the kids, they don't know about this portion of our trip, but we've actually booked a SeaWorld, Discovery Cove, Busch Gardens and Aquatica package, and that's another 14-day pass. The only thing that we have there is we have to lock in the date for Discovery Cove, so we've booked that in, and then all the other park dates have to be within 14 days of that, so we're either before that or after it. So we've booked the Discovery Cove, and it also includes a dolphin swim, and that's in on the Saturday, and then a couple of days before that we'll do the SeaWorld, Busch Gardens and Aquatica, and then we've also got another day later on if we wish to go back to SeaWorld. On a weekend they have Halloween parties, so you know, the kids can go trick-or-treating and whatnot during that day if they wish to. My husband's also going to two NFL games, so that was something that we had to, you know, because we purchased it so far in advance, we had to kind of just play it by ear as to when the NFL timetable and schedule got released, and then work on those plans. So he will be going to Tampa on a I think it's on a Saturday, I don't know, and then he'll be going to Atlanta, and we were looking at him catching a plane there. However, catching a plane on the day of an event always makes me uneasy in case the flights are cancelled. That particular game, he's going to drive. We've hired a car, and it's about a 6-hour drive, so he'll drive that day, check in at his hotel, and it's close to the stadium, so he'll walk to the stadium, watch the game. He's booked a hotel overnight, and he'll come home the next day, so I'll have a night on my own and the morning of my own with the kids in the parks that day. Accommodation. So just talking quickly about our accommodation. So our first accommodation is at the I think it's called the Hampton Inn and Suites, which is near SeaWorld. So we should be able to see SeaWorld out our window. It includes breakfast. We've booked that through the Qantas website. It gave us, I think, quadruple points towards our Qantas frequent flyer points. we're there for I think 4 nights, and then we'll move, and this is the day that Andrew goes to Tampa. We'll actually check out of the hotel. He'll drive us over to the Grand Floridian, where we'll stay for our first trip at Disney, and he'll go on to Tampa, and I'll just hang around the hotel waiting for our room to be ready. We'll leave our luggage with Bell Services. We'll go to Disney Springs, have some lunch, check things out, pick up our magic bands, and then head back to the hotel, once our room is ready. Andrew will be back later on that evening. That game that he's seeing is a day game. After our Grand Floridian, where we're there for I think 4 nights, we move on to Animal Kingdom Lodge, into a 1-bedroom value resort, and we're staying there for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 nights, and that's our longest stay. And then we'll move on to the boardwalk, which is something we're really excited about, and that's our last stay, and we'll be there for 5 nights, and then we'll be home. So when I talk about booking our accommodation, our flights, and making sure that that's locked in, at the 11th, like when you have DVC at 11 months is when you can start booking your accommodation at your home resort. So we were toying with the idea that we were going to be going on holidays, but we didn't have any dates locked in. So what I did at 11 months out is I went in and I just booked in, a 2-week holiday, in a room to make sure that I've got something secured. Once our flights were confirmed, I started moving things around. So I actually had 2 separate bookings, both at Animal Kingdom because that's my home resort, but it had myself covered for the entire stay, and that way I was protected, and I had accommodation. I had something booked in. At the 7-month window, so when you're 7 months from going on your trip, you can actually move resorts to another deluxe DVC resort. So that's when I was able to secure Grand Floridian, and I waitlisted a couple of resorts. So I had Saratoga Springs as well at one stage. Did lots of moving around, but we've settled in on this, and we're really happy with this, to add these to our collections of hotels that we've stayed at Disney World. So another thing that I've done is I've also got a packing list that I include. It's just on my phone. I've just got it in my notes, just bullet points which I can tick each time that I've done something, and I'll add to it and take things off as the day goes on, and I think of new things to add. The plan is to bring as minimal as possible, but going on a almost 4-week trip with 5 of us, including a little 2-year-old, means that we probably have to take everything. So we'll try our best. Our car hire that we do have is, I think it's a standard SUV. I've watched lots of vlogs on it, and I'm hoping that we should be able to fit everything in. We've only got the car accommodation halfway through our trip. Andrew will return that on his way back from Atlanta. We don't need it for the whole duration of our trip. We'll just utilize the Disney transportation, and our return back to the airport, we'll just use the Mears bus. So it doesn't really matter how much luggage we have, because everything will fit into that. And then when we get home in Sydney, we have the shuttle that has, I think it connects to a trailer, so everything should be fitting in there. It's just that beginning of the trip, which we've got, suitcases folded in on each other, which should be fine. So that's basically it that I have to speak to you about. But yeah, just if you have any questions, please post them down below. I'm really hoping to vlog this trip and to share and document this for myself, for my family, and also to share with everybody to help them learn and explore how we do a Disney trip. Also, I'm wanting to do this to kind of, as a personal goal of mine, to help, speak to a camera, and just better myself in that profession, when it comes to speaking in a world of Zoom meetings and Teams meetings these days. We're often staring at a screen, so this is a little personal goal of mine as well. But yeah, so let us know what you think, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.